Hello, everybody. Glad you could join us for episode number 32 of the Launch and Beyond podcast, a podcast designed to support you in not only achieving great success in your business, but in all other areas of life as well. Collaboration. What does that mean? Well, by definition, it means to work together on a common purpose to achieve an outcome that's mutually beneficial. Many people would be familiar with collaboration in the music industry, an artist with their own unique sounds, genre, and following teaming up with another artist, another genre, another set of skills coming together. And in doing so, in collaborating, they're able to create a new sound, reach a broader audience, and collectively create something they would not have been able to create on their own. One of the greatest collaborators of our time in the music industry, for example, is Ed Sheeran. Not only popular and immensely popular and successful in his own right, he continues to collaborate with a broad range of artists such as Andrea Bocelli to Eminem and 50 Cent, creating new sounds, new audiences, and even greater success. But what about in business? How does collaboration work there? And how do we go about doing this? Well, our podcast guest this week is the Black Diamonds Club business coach and consultant, Dr. Billy Chow. Billy helps business owners grow, scale, and become more profitable but more importantly, to help them realize and succeed in reaching their goals to live a happier, healthier, and more prosperous life. In this episode, in the lyrics of rap artist Vanilla Ice titled Stop, Collaborate and Listen, Billy discusses with us how collaboration can be the difference that makes a difference in helping you achieve success and fulfillment in both your business and in life. We hope you enjoy it. All right, welcome to the podcast episode today. Really excited and looking forward to sharing the wisdom and the gold that will come out of this discussion. Very excited to have Billy Chow on the podcast episode. I've known Billy for a long time, and it's more specifically in the last few years that I've gotten to get to know him specifically, and really through him and by extension the Black Diamond Club with Sean Deal and Lacey Book, who I'm a member of actually, I've really gotten to understand the collaboration. So I'm really excited that we've got Billy on the program. Welcome, Billy. Great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, buddy. Yeah, pleasure. So, Billy, just before we introduce you officially, I just wanted to acknowledge you're there. Adam and I just do a quick little check into ourselves, just see how we're going, and then we bring you into if that's okay. So, hello, Adam. How are you going this morning, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad, Jim. I'm trying to remember what professionalism is about and put away some of my personal feelings this morning. Not towards Billy. Please don't get that wrong.
Billy's a great bloke. Yeah.
Billy seems like a great guy. I've met him just before the podcast. Seems really nice, easy to talk with. But yeah, just heard some announcements this morning about our current situation. So I got a head full of fire, and someone put a mic in front of me this morning. So. Yeah. We'll see where this goes. Jim's going to have to rein me back in.
I was just going to say, yeah, we did liaise just before we got onto the recording, and it was like talking a guy down off the ledge. And look, understandably, we've got there's a lot of frustrations that are happening and bubbling for us. It's probably not the right forum for it to come through today. Perhaps we might at some stage do a separate offline recording, but. I hear what you're saying, Adam. Like in terms of, it's a theme that's really important. We were just talking to Billy just before we started the program, and he's living in another state in Australia, and by extension, he's got family here, which you were just saying, Billy. But largely, they can carry on life with some modifications, and it's really interesting. There's always empathy from people from other states for people who are living in Victoria at the moment and carrying on their work and having to adapt and all those things. But it's a totally different perspective, and the freedoms that a lot of the rest of the country has. I know Victorians are looking at going, wow, if only. So. I think it was, I acknowledge what you're saying. I think it'd be authentic of us to acknowledge it. It's not the avenue to go down.
No. That's not at all.
Yeah. But I totally get your point. That's the pulse of the city at the moment right now. And it's important to address that. So other than that, high points that you've had this week?
Oh, not much. Just getting on top of productions and also because we've been a bit quieter this time, I've had time to actually reflect both personally and professionally. And I think I sent you a picture earlier this week of my bed just full of paperwork. And I'm actually just going back over the stuff that when you're in the startup, and we started up quite rapidly, as we've outlined on the podcast before. And when you're in the startup, you're just focusing on what's next.
Yeah.
And you're forgetting about what's behind.
Yeah.
And so now that I've got a bit of time to sit down and reflect, I'm catching up on 2 or 3 years of some things that I've been neglecting. And it's actually sort of happened at the perfect time now. So I'm really appreciating this downtime.
Yeah.
For that business professionalism. For other things, like, I don't want to get into it. Anyway, how was your week, Jim?
Well, I've had actually a really good week. It's, and Billy, it might come up in this podcast. One of the biggest themes in the Black Diamond Club is control the controllables. And that's really what I've been doing. I've been saying that for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that have been working on in the last few weeks are really coming to a head. So it's really exciting. I'm getting these phenomenal outcomes. And that in and of itself is creating, like, how sometimes I say, careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. Well, this week, it all came in droves. And I could go in 3 different directions, and each one of them would be a full-time commitment in energetically in of self. So I've had to get even more grounded in self, and rather than being taken up by the whole slipstream of it all, is stay grounded and just focus on the next step, the next logical step, which is another principle that comes through in BDC. And you'll see why very shortly, Adam, why there's such a big overlay with a lot of the principles that we talk through with our organization, our podcast, and BDC. So for me, it was just a logical extension to reach out, or Billy to reach out to me, and after discussion go, we're talking the same thing. Let's collaborate. So in the greater spirit of collaboration, let's bring Billy on. Billy, let's make you feel part of the team. How's your week been? What have been some high points and summaries? What's it like to be in Freedom Land?
Oh, well, it's fantastic. We can go to a bar and have a drink, and it's I don't want to make you feel bad. It's funny. It's actually not funny. It's not funny because like Australia, and we're like, it's we are a representation of Australia. We are multicultural Australians, and so we understand that whole foundation of being an Aussie, that mateship, that we look after each other, and that we're all in this together. One thing that I think that our nation has suffered through this, and obviously because it's so much overwhelm and stress, it's broken down. I hear people in our state, I live in Adelaide, so in South Australia, and I hear the horrible things about shut the borders and keep those stupid Victorians out. And then, we're turning on each other. This pandemic, not just the virus itself, but the way it's been sort of I don't want to get us in trouble or arrested, but the powers that be, all that kind of stuff that's happened, it's made us, it's really brought about some terrible things in human nature that have come about. It's kind of like the Lord of the Flies, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, Billy. I had a FaceTime call with a really good mate of mine in Queensland just the other day, and just as a joke, he gets on the call. He had a special time, and he's got a mask, like a splier, and he's got this Darth Vader, and he goes, "Hey man, I'm just worried about you, Victoria." So it was a joke, but what you're talking about specifically is that. So it's really interesting that that's coming through. Like I said, we talk about it. We let people know that's there. We don't make that a focus of what we do, but it's real. It's a reality of it. And a lot of what we talked about is the ability to adapt over and above your circumstances and go, okay, how can I make the best of this situation? What can I do to help all that out? So,
I feel that's why they've been able to do what they've been able to do, is because they've put so much fear in people. And that way, people are just scared and they want to stay away from their mates rather than, banding together. Not saying there should be an uprising. I'm just saying everyone looks at, when you go to a shopping center here, people still look at you like you've got the virus, and they're super worried about oh, he's got the virus, let's have that extra distance. And it's only a small fraction of people that do get it. And then out of that, there's only a small fraction that do go to hospital. And out of that, there's only a small fraction who do pass away. So, we're talking fractions of the population, but people look around and go, all of these 6-point-something million people that live in Victoria have the virus, and they look at you, and you can feel, it's a weird feeling out here.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things where human nature, like, you know, like when you talk to people and you go, like, if your personality and who you are is who you are regardless of your circumstance. So, like, you know, so if you're an asshole, you know, when you were poor, you're going to be an asshole when you're rich, like, you know. But if you're a wonderful human being when you're wealthy and you lose the money, that personality is still going to be the same when you don't have the money. And I think that's the case, and that is that, like, you know, we're seeing that without the virus, these people were always that kind of personality where they're sort of afraid of who you are and afraid to, you know, with people. Now that the virus and this whole environment has allowed them to express themselves, so they're like, wow, this is my nirvana. Like, I want to be able to, like, you know, make people uncomfortable and, you know, like, and not be associated with the people, and hopefully they don't touch me, that kind of stuff. So it's interesting.
Well, you know, we traditionally start with the show and tell and the warm up, and we just go bang straight into
No,
but hang on, this is really cool. But what you guys? No, I was just laughing because I was like, okay, we'll just ease Billy into the program, and we just like straight away. It's really cool. What I was going to say is, it reminds me of a line out of Charles Dickens' book of Hard Times. The first line, which is the first opening line, is, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." A lot of times it comes down to perspective, and a lot of what you're basically saying.
Definitely, yeah. Well, okay, I'll share something that was different. So early this week, we had my wife and I had the fortunate experience of meeting our son's girlfriend's parents for the first time. So
wow!
So that was that was an experience. That was So well, Jim, you probably
I've been there. It's a surreal feeling.
Yeah,
absolutely a surreal feeling, because I put myself. I feel like you're up for, you know, it's like an interview or basically that's what that is. It's like, hey, and it's quite confronting and vulnerable. In a lot of ways, because it's not about you. It's about, hey, this is my kid now. So it feels.
It's so demoralizing, because, like, I would consider myself to be easy to talk to, you know, outgoing. I'm not controversial if I don't need to be. You know, I don't, like, if I meet you for the first time, I'm not going to talk about politics or religion, like, you know, that kind of stuff. And our son made it. He was like, just don't make fun of me. Like just don't embarrass me. Don't be an idiot. Don't be weird. I'm like,
don't be you. Don't be you. Can you be someone else for the night or?
100%. I agree with that. So that's cool, Billy. Well, like I said, I hope all that goes exceptionally well, and you don't keep embarrassing your kids as that progresses on. So, Billy, as I said, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. Even just in these few minutes, people are starting to get to understand and know a little bit about you. But I'd really love you to take a few moments, if you could, to just tell us a little bit more about yourself, a little bit of your backstory, and perhaps for the people who may not know you, you know, what's the Billy Chow story?
Billy Chow story. Oh, well, well, first of all, a lot of people think I look like Daniel Day Kim from Hawaii Five-0.
You do. You do.
So, look, Billy Chow story. Like Jim, we are both chiropractors. I don't practice anymore, but I've been a chiropractor, not the same vintage as Jim, but I think now it's been my 20th year, or coming on the 21st year of being a chiropractor. Had like I would consider a successful career in chiropractic, and, you know, in practice, and had multiple practices. And then along the way, I think it's always been something that I've always wanted to do, and that was to branch out and to, I guess sort of like take some of the things that I wanted to do in my life outside of just clinical practice and taking care of people as a chiropractor, and you know, go down that path. So that was like management. It was like getting onto boards. It was learning other skills and that kind of stuff. And so along the way, I've kind of, I guess, just through trial and error and through experience, I've had a lot of experience on boards, definitely in the healthcare and the not-for-profit sector. I'm currently on the board for the ASRF, the Australian Spinal Research Foundation. We do research for chiropractors. I've been on the ACA, the Australian Chiropractic Association board, for 7 years prior. I think 7 or 8 years. I can't remember. And also have had sort of other businesses, and now I do consulting. Yeah. So outside of that, and Jim knows this, like I'm like, as with the conversation, Adam, like, we're I'm pretty easygoing. I could talk about Daniel Day Kim. I can talk about, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. I enjoy chatting. I enjoy talking. I love getting to know people as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that because before the call, Jim wasn't on. He was a bit late today.
Yeah.
Talk about throwing me under the bus.
You know what? Because I'm always late. I'm the late one every single time. And Jim was 2 minutes before we were supposed to start.
Yeah.
So, he was the latest of the early.
Yeah.
But talking with you, it was just so easy and free flowing. We could have been talking about anything and it was just ready to go. It was awesome.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Well, like I said, now you know why really was keen to have Billy on here. Why by nature, when we talk about collaboration, you'll see the set of skills and talents that Billy brings that invite collaboration, right? So it's a really great process in there. So Billy, as you said, by extension, you've got your professional career, and then you've gone on to boards. You've done multiple variety and variations. So I'm really curious. You've told us a little bit about the journey. Could you tell us a little bit about the inflection points that created that change, or what was the catalyst for you to realize that, okay, here's where I am, and there's more that I want to do? What can you talk to us a little bit about that?
I think it's was interesting. So as I said, like I for many years. So even like when our first child was born, I was already like doing an MBA. So I actually, while I was a chiropractor, I was doing an MBA, and then so I had sort of like interest in management and sort of being able to sort of build that knowledge. And then through the board stuff, I think there was just stepping up, and I guess the inflection point there was not so much that I thought things that I could actually make changes. It was more that I wanted to find out how I could help. And then, I thought that if I could help, and if I was one person that could put some effort and put some energy into something that was bigger than just myself, that I could be able to do something and provide something for the broader population of chiropractors. And so I jumped on boards. It was funny. Like I was a state board director in South Australia for a few years, and then an opportunity came up to be on a national board for the CAA. And my first board meeting was just to get to know each person and trying to find what's going on and sort of get my place. And then it came up that there was this conference in Vegas, that a research conference that we usually go to, but one of our board directors couldn't go. And so they was like, oh, who can go? And then they looked at me and they said, you're the new guy, you're going to go to Vegas. And so I was like, this is cool. I jumped on a board, I get to Vegas. But I think that, for me, it's always been, putting up my hand, just, and I think that, for you guys, the Launch and Beyond podcast, it's all about just, getting out of your comfort zone. Sometimes it's going to be like painful. Other times it's going to be scary. Well, actually, it's always going to be painful. It's always going to be scary. Yeah. But the journey is always going to be paved with those things. But also, if we do put up our hands and we do put the effort in, we'll get it back. We'll get it back in just both our own growth, but also the satisfaction of doing something that's better for the broader population. Yeah.
Well, I always look at it that the pain and the growth is it moves you, or it allows you to grow so that you can get to that next level. And then if you want to move to the next level, there's always going to be pain and growth again. And it's the way to train yourself. So you just got to build that into your mindset and just use that to adapt and just go, yep, this is how it's going to be from now on. Until I want to stop. And then once you stop, you're just like, well, I don't want pain and I don't want suffering, and I'm happy to be here, and just stay content.
Yeah,
that's not in me.
Billy, it's a great, as you're talking about that, I'm always looking for threads. I'm always looking for, what's the difference that makes a difference? What creates a transition and change? And there's a couple of things you said there that really stood out to me. And that was, number one, obviously you're on your path. You professionally, you've got your degree. But even with that, you were looking for more, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking for that process, and you're prepared to step up, put your hand up. So that's the biggest thing that I know about you in a board level, is that a lot of people will, and we were talking about this just before the podcast, will be stuck in a stage of powerlessness and stay in that and not actually do anything that will create change.
Yeah.
You, by extension, went, right, I'm going down an MBA route, in part following your own interest and curiosity, but also getting on boards where you can actually create change.
Yeah.
So it's all well and good to take pot shots at what's not working for people, but step one in whether you want to have an extraordinary business or life is putting your hand up, taking action, and leading in that direction. You've exemplified that by virtue of the twists and turns that have followed your career that I'm privy to, but also the decisiveness to say, okay, I'm doing it, I'm going in that direction. So the keys that someone can take who may not be on a board is, okay, well, where can that apply in my life? Where can I apply that in my business? And it's really, we're looking for principles that are transferable in multiple areas of life. So that's really cool. So you've done that. You've had boards. And you're going. You're going to say something.
I was going to say, and then also the other part of that story is how I kind of, changed was that I've actually got some arthritis. So, I've got an autoimmune inflammatory arthritis, which affects my hands, my wrists, and some of my other joints. And so, just naturally, that was like, well, if I can continually help people but not have to use my hands as a chiropractor, that was another reason why it was, I guess, like that sort of inflection point in my life where I was like, okay, the universe is telling me something that I've always wanted to do something different, or I've always wanted to maybe challenge myself in other ways, and this has now kind of just pushed me just in the direction that I had to go.
Okay, all right. So that and you're right. I was aware of that. I wasn't actually going to disclose that if you weren't going to, but I'm really glad that you have, because what it shows us is that sometimes change comes from within us. Sometimes it's created and thrust upon us. So you had a situation where, by virtue of physical limitations, you said, okay, I need to change this. You used it as an opportunity to reinvent yourself and go in different directions. And so I think there's another key point that people could take out of this, is to say sometimes change happens. Brendan Burchard says, for things to change, either something's got to come into your life or something's got to come out of you. And you, by extension, have done both of those just by reinventing yourself and following up. So I'm loving how we're building on the knowledge base and the understanding. So all those things, let's fast forward a little bit. Now you're part of, and this is where I really got to get to know you on a much deeper level. You're part of the Black Diamond Club, and the Black Diamond Club is really dealing and working with service professionals. So can you tell us a little bit about what the Black Diamond Club does and your specific role within the Black Diamond Club?
Well, the Black Diamond Club was formed by Dr. Sean Dill and Lacey Book. They're two amazing and very, very smart people. It's actually more than just a club. There are lots of different parts to it. It started off as just a way for Sean to impart his knowledge and his expertise in and his ability to really help people grow and expand their businesses. And it started off as just like a Facebook group, like a membership, and it's now gone into like coaching and seminars, not just workshops and small seminars, the big seminars, like we have summer camp, which happens every year,
which we both could not go to.
We both couldn't
because we're stuck in Australia.
And then so there's now multiple levels. There's coaches, which is one of the areas I am in. I'm a coach for the Black Diamond Club, but mindset, sales, marketing, entrepreneurship, growing and scaling. And then one part of the Black Diamond Club, which I'm not part of, as in terms of what I don't do, is that they also run multiple practices that are upper cervical specific chiropractic practices called the specific. So there are a number of those around America, and they're obviously growing. So that's part of their business as well. But at the foundation, it's really about just helping service providers, whether you're a chiropractor either a healthcare practitioner or a mortgage broker or an accountant to be able to, to help you grow and scale your business, help you, build better mindset, how to, make you a better entrepreneur, better business person. Yeah.
Okay, great. And what effectively, I guess this experience that I'm taking out of this is, it doesn't matter what your entry point level is. You can use a lot of the principles that we're talking about. And I guess that's by extension, that's what's attracted me to the Black Diamond Club, is the principles are equally transferable across the board.
Yeah.
And to a whole lot of other people. And we'll expand and talk about those. But particularly I want to talk about collaboration, because without doubt, that's been the biggest thing that I've taken out of being a member of the Black Diamond Club. And so you're a coach and consultant yourself, all right? Sean and Lacey are coaches and consultants as well. Somebody else, we'll talk about some of the collaboration that we were basically planning, we're doing. But can you talk about collaboration as a model that can be used in business? So, because a lot of times the protective part of you or me, if we're living in a scarcity mindset, and I know Adam and I have spoken about this before, would say, well, why do I want to be associated with someone who is competing for the same piece of the pie? Why don't I just keep to my own and focus on my own thing and, sit in my own, basically my own environment and not share any elements of it? So can you tell us about collaboration in its true essence and the magic that comes from it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you guys, because you're like an amazing example of collaboration. Adam with his his experience in professional in the restaurant business and that kind of stuff, and obviously you, Jim, chiropractor, coach, entrepreneur as well. And so that's collaboration, isn't it? So it's it's not. I think. The word that comes up is leverage. It's leverage, and that is it's leveraging experience from the collaborators. It's leveraging the value that you can provide to the individuals that are so. If you and I are collaborating, the goal is to not only provide value to us, making it mutually beneficial for both of us, but if you think about it, it's actually providing value to our audience, the people that we take care of. You opened up the podcast with the Ed Sheeran, this music, and not just Ed Sheeran. You think about Justin Timberlake and all those guys who collaborate, and you think about it's actually being able to broaden your scope of. Certainly your ability to, your reach and your engagement with a larger audience. But it's also, making sure that you're leveraging the strengths of each person. So, I always say to people that in collaboration, the key is if you want to engage with us and through our collaboration, the goal is actually to make your life better, to add value to your life, to improve your life. And because I don't know all the answers, I don't know everything, but I want to make sure that if I'm giving you my 100%, that I want to make sure that I'm helping you in all aspects. And that could be getting other people that are experts in other areas. Going back to your thing about that whole keeping it to myself and that ego and that sort of it's I want to control everything. I want to control everything. And it's my ego. And we see this a lot in chiropractors. Traditionally, and obviously being a chiropractor, we kind of understand the psyche of that profession. I think that we've always been very bad at collaboration. And if you have a look at other professions, if you think about a GP or some, they're collaborating with, other healthcare practitioners. They're collaborating with the dermatologist or an orthopedic surgeon. They're collaborating with the pathology department. They're collaborating with hospitals and that kind of stuff. Just by nature, chiropractors generally can be very sort of ego and controlling about, I don't want to collaborate because, I want to control everything. It's my business. It's my, and even not even collaborating with other chiropractors. Would you agree with that, Jim?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And particularly I know we focused on it from a professional perspective it's because we have the point of reference, the easiest part about that. But because we both do so much work outside of industry, you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's that feeling of wanting to be insular, to want, as you said, to be controlled. And I think a particular type of person, it's not a zero-sum game. And that's the biggest part of it. I think my initial aversion to, I was never against collaboration. It was about a trust, to be honest. That a couple of times, I guess in the spirit of collaboration, I actually wanted someone to win. And what I did is I didn't actually do my due diligence to work out that was the person to collaborate best with. So I think in my own experience, I just went, nah, look, I don't have that. But so the big learning that I've taken about that is you either expand or contract personally or in your life. And when you're open, opportunities come up and present themselves that they may otherwise not have been there, but you've got to be open to them. Yeah. And by being open to them, that invites collaboration, that invites connection, that invites people coming into your world. So to me, it's a way of life. And as you said, maybe within professionally, where a lot of people in chiropractic are so used to people taking pot shots at them because they don't share their point of view or their model of health. And so by extension, they're not going to go out there and seek out collaboration except for people who think exactly the same as them. But the problem is that when you just associate with people who do exactly the same thing that you do, you just reinforce your own biases. So you don't actually expand and grow. So to me, there's an intention and an energy around collaboration that has to start with a point of reference and saying, I guess, thinking abundantly and going, you know what, there is more than enough for everybody. I'm looking for adding value in someone else's life. It's not about me, it's about them. It's not about me, it's about the greatest and highest expression for our end users. And when you come to it from that place, you can come to see who the best person is to work with, in my opinion.
For me, I used, I got asked by a guy who provides me ovens. He has a side business doing some menus with a celebrity chef, old school celebrity chef from the 90s. But they're doing a whole range of meals for nursing homes. And this is through the private sector Australia-wide. And they called me in because I have a bakery, a commercial bakery. And they go, oh, we want this cake, this cake, this cake, this cake. And I go, well, I'm really only set up to do these type of cakes. And I brought my friend along with me and I go, he's set up to do everything. And that was me being non-selfish or more selfless and going, you know what, I could learn and develop and change my systems and structures and costings and supply groups for me to be able to do the cakes for them. Or I could give it to my friend because that's what he does. And then he can benefit from that. But the next time they need my products, he's going to refer them to me. And we work together in that way. And in that way, we leverage our businesses and we grow bigger together rather than fighting each other and go, hey, let's do a whole lot of small contracts just to, compete so that I don't give it to my competitor. Instead, we became friends. I know he does some stuff better. I do other stuff better. But in turn, we win all the contracts that way. Not all of the contracts, but all that come up, we win them. So that's it.
Yeah. And what do you think the side benefit is not the side benefit, the ultimate benefit to the consumer when they come to you and or you realize that because you're in great relationship and collaboration with somebody else, you go, you know what, I may not be the best person for you, but that person is. And you direct them to, they had a great outcome. I think it positions you in the mind of the consumer as, one of the things that they talk about in BDC, Billy, is as a trusted advisor.
Absolutely.
So sometimes being a trusted advisor may be that you're not the best person for that person, but because you've got connections and trust and collaboration with other people, you direct them to what they need. And so people see value in your position even more, even though you weren't providing the service.
Yeah. I mean, that's the foundation. If the goal of any service provider is to, provide an amazing quality service to your clients, that service expands beyond just what you can do. So, and that's just natural. So we may think that what we're doing is niche and that's all we're going to be doing, but we forget about the trust so if I do a great job, my clients or the people I take care of, they're gonna trust me. They're gonna see that, okay, Billy is actually someone that's trustworthy. I like what he does. I can see that, that if I ask him anything or if I communicate with him, he's someone that I would listen to. So then naturally what's going to happen is that they're going to open up their trust to me and ask me questions about, okay, well, what do you think about this? Or do I need this? And I think that like for me to be able to provide that service for the clients, we have to be collaborators. We need to be good collaborators. And going back to your thing, that we also have to have that trust in others that we work with. And, I guess it's sort of one of those things where that it's, that if we start to see the bigger picture, and that is that, that if I a good example is that if someone comes and sees me and I'm ego driven, I'm like a one-man band. I want to keep it to myself. I'm scared that if I say, they should go see Jim, that I'm going to lose that person. That's going to show. And so not only is it going to show in the intent and in sort of the energy around it, but if I sort of say, like you shouldn't go see that person because I can help you. Like I reckon I can do just as good a job. In your mind as a client, you're going to go, oh, well, that sort of seems odd. But the difference would be is that if I said, absolutely, you should go see Jim. You know what? Jim he is way more better than I am with these things. And I think that if anything, he's going to be able to provide you with a different perspective on where you need to go. My client goes and sees you, Jim or Adam, and then tells me that, hey, Billy told me to come and see you, blah, blah, blah. It's that's just going to be a better outcome for both of us, better outcome for both us as a provider, but a way better outcome for the client. And they're going to come back to me and say, thank you very much. I mean, like it's, like I always think that people are very wary of, when the conversation starts to happen and that like, oh, don't go see someone else, come and come and see me. Cause like people are smart, people are like, why do you say that? Like, like why are you being so protective? Don't you want me to be, to improve in these other parts? Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I do on my healthcare journey. When I'm really active, I'm lifting weights or jiu-jitsu or some type of martial arts, something very physical. So I need almost a team behind me there's the masseuse, and then there's, I've got an osteopath, and then obviously Jim's my chiropractor. Yeah. But for different things, I use different people, and the providers that I choose are the ones who go, actually, yeah, the chiropractor is probably better for that today. Or, hey, actually the osteopath might be able to hone in on exactly what this is. And, there's always this rivalry between the two doctors. But when they see a bigger picture going, hey, you trust me with your body, but I'm not right for you in this situation, you should see that person. I get more respect and I refer way more people to that person. Yeah. And even if they weren't right for me today, they're right for the person I've referred, and they're right for the next person that I've referred. And when I really do need them, I'm going to come back and I'm going to benefit. So word of mouth travels and collaborations. Yeah, we have rivalries in every business, but if you can put that ego aside, like you guys are talking about, if you put that ego away, everyone ends up benefiting because, it's the right person for the right job every time.
Yeah, good example. And I want to take it another step now. And so we talked about collaboration within a health context, and that's one example. But Billy, by the broader, say, BDC platform, you will have been privy to some great examples of collaboration in other industries, in other businesses. So could you tell us a little bit about some great examples that you've been aware of collaboration in other businesses and other areas?
Yeah. So, because BDC services, health professionals and service-based professionals that not only obviously want to help grow their business and have, be provided with strategies to help them grow and market and help them be better salespeople and have better, entrepreneurial mindsets. But it's, these people, as you expand, you want more information about things like finances, or it could be like, the PR and marketing, or it could be even things like we teach marketing, but how do we actually get, the guy, we've got Dennis Yu, who, if anyone that sort of knows in the sort of the marketing realm and certainly social media marketing realm, like Dennis Yu is the guy. So, we could easily do it all ourselves. but the value that we can provide to our members and the broader broader membership of people that want to know more about what we do, having someone like that on board, just that's the true sense of collaboration. Because at the end of the day, that being transparent, we do like make money for these other people that we collaborate with, but we also make money because of the fact that as a whole, we're servicing the broader population of the needs of our members. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm to understand that correctly, I'm just kind of paraphrasing. So really, potentially, what you're saying is that in any business, any type of association, potentially you can collaborate. Yeah. And what you just outlined there is that sometimes collaboration is bringing under an umbrella a team of authorities in their own right to be able to communicate the best and highest use of that message, rather than trying to do it yourself and go, yeah, I know a little bit about, they're the words that I'm always cautious of. Yeah, I know a little bit about marketing. But what effectively you're doing is you're extending the olive branch out to someone who's best at their field and saying, hey, would you like to come and teach what you do to our audience? In the process, they're going to benefit. I'm going to benefit. You're going to benefit. We all benefit. And you're just replicating that. So then, you talked about sales, and I know that you brought professionals in the sales quadrant. So effectively, to your end user, they've got the experience of authorities in their own right, which further leverages your own brand. So that's one model, if I'm understanding correctly, that you collaborate is by bringing people together and being the avenue through which you share that information.
Absolutely.
Right. How cautious were you, Jim, of me when I said I know a little bit about Photoshop? Or a little bit about podcasting.
No, that was okay. That was okay. I meant more about I know a little bit about electricity. I'm talking more about
I know a little bit about electricity as well.
Mate, no, that's the one. But when you get Photoshop and stuff, that's different. I've got this risk mitigation filter. But when everybody goes, I know a little bit about electricity, I just go, okay, sure, no worries. Let me just not walk into that room.
I've been to a chiropractor once. I can crack your back. Just lie down. Let's go for it. I'll crack you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, and just on that, just going back to the collaboration, how Billy and I, I guess the connection of our relationship really was that preparedness to reach out and have a discussion about that. So, Billy knew what we were doing with Bettina and I with Lux, and we were on a different pathway and trajectory. And I was aware of what Billy was doing, and we just had this conversation. Go, hey, tell me about this. Tell me, awesome. And then I got invited to be a part of this group, and honestly, it's been fantastic. But I had to be prepared to humble myself to go, okay, I offer these services, but I'm going to come and learn from you guys. Yeah. And Billy also had to be prepared enough to extend an invitation to someone who is doing the same thing they are. And from that, interestingly, what's happened is through trust and discussion and all these things, we were due to have a collaborative event as well during the year. COVID obviously put paid to that for this year, but we're going to run it next year. And so there's a collaborative event between Black Diamond Club, Lux Consulting, which is our brand, and the Chicks Who Click. Yeah. And it's not us calling them the Chicks Who Click. They call themselves that.
Yes.
So they're three basically organizations that help transform coach on their own right. But we come together, and here's a model that we put forward to people. Go, hey, traditionally in the consulting and coaching space, no one does this. Everybody's protecting their own turf. We want to show you a model of how this can work, and we're going first. And that's really what we were doing, is sort of showcasing the elements and skill sets that each and one of us have collectively and individually, bring them together so that end users that have a much higher and better experience. And if people were looking for a coach, you've got an opportunity to go, hey, these guys work together. If I ever needed to have support from one or the other, I know that they direct me to who the right person would be. And so what that also did is cemented trust. So that was a kind of a personal example, even within this landscape, of how we were making that work and modeling it for people, how to make it happen.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's great. I'm so excited about our collaboration. Like it's a shame that we that we couldn't put it on this this year, but it's given us more time to kind of make it better for next year. But collaboration is something that is natural, and it happens in all sort of industries and all areas. Like if you think about, for you, Adam, if you're the chef at a restaurant, without the sous chef and without the waiters and all that kind of stuff and the bar person and everything else, that food doesn't get to the diners. I mean, you can't cook and everything, and then but we're talking about like something bigger than just like a food truck. Obviously, in a food truck you can, but when it comes to things like Lux, and it comes to things like BDC, and even things like with your podcast, you're providing like multiple aspects to help your clients and and to engage your audience. And so we have to make sure that we provide that value. I mean, a carpenter can't build the house. That you need an electrician, you need the plumber, you need you need a tile, all that kind of stuff as well. So
that's collaboration again, collaboration, right? In building a house. So the key things is, number one, being prepared to be open.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier on, suspending the ego and being prepared to extend an invitation and just an offer. And if you do, you may be you mentioned a carpenter. You may be a carpenter, and you can't, or you mentioned the example of being a chef, and you can't do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
So you actually have to trust. You have to extend. Yeah. You have to think greater than yourself, and then go, okay, I'm going to collaborate. For me to deliver on this outcome, I need to work collegially with everybody and ensuring that we're all on the same page in terms of what we're after. So, and interestingly, collaboration can happen with people who are different industry, but sometimes, like I outlined, they can be in your own industry, in your own service. And this is what we're talking about, where you've got 3 coaching organizations who are working collaboratively together to get the best outcome, where individually you could just focus on your own turf and be okay doing your own thing.
Yeah.
Well, so, if you look at, say, food and wine festivals,
you've
got restaurants that generally compete against each other, and they want people to dine at their restaurant that night. But when you got the food and wine, they're sectioned next door to each other, and if they didn't all come together to provide the food for this food and wine show, no one would turn up.
Exactly.
So you've got maybe 10 or 12 of the best restaurants coming together and providing a service to everyone. And if the patrons only knew 3 or 4 of those top restaurants and they didn't know the other 8 or 9, now they know.
Yeah.
And that's what collaboration does. It exposes you as well to a new audience.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So this is really great, because we've highlighted 3 particular industries just out of 4. We've spoken about the food and wine, hospitality. We've spoken about healthcare. We've spoken about coaching. We've spoken about building, right? 4 industries that are all providing a service, which shows you that this is transferable and applicable to a whole lot of areas. Oh, yeah. So I was just going to say, that being the case, and I guess we touched on it before, are there particular reasons why people may choose not to collaborate? Right. So if we've been talking it up, we've touched it about ego and whatever, but why would someone choose not to collaborate?
Well, first of all, like if we kind of go back to, before I answer that one, or go into a discussion about going back to that whole different industries, like traditionally we think that we build networks and we collaborate with people that are similar to us, because we think so if I'm a chiropractor, then I would like to maybe network with like other health practitioners, maybe a massage therapist, maybe a naturopath, maybe another physiotherapist, or even another and we can have a referral base, because we're thinking that we're looking at the industry. And certainly in BDC, we talk about, things like Network of 90 and Gang of 5 and, distribution channels. Collaboration, the fundamental thing that really should be the thing that bonds all your collaborators together is your ideal client and target market. So if you're a chiropractor, but you're collaborating with a hairdresser, but you're both serving the same ideal client or a similar ideal client, and definitely a very similar target market, then why wouldn't you collaborate? Just because I'm a chiropractor and you're a hairdresser, we could definitely collaborate. And I think that traditionally a lot of people don't see that. They go, let's just talk to the people, if I'm a lawyer, then we'll talk to maybe, other lawyers and solicitors, or maybe some finance people, that kind of stuff. But if I'm a lawyer, why wouldn't I be talking to the baker or the barista? Because we could actually have our audience might be exactly the same, and so if we collaborate and work together, we can actually get more of those clients.
Yeah. So are you saying, Billy, just to interrupt you, sorry, it sounds like both of us are going to interrupt you there.
That's all right.
So are you saying that we're not casting the net wide enough?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so we're only just focusing on the immediate concentric circle, but fundamentally, if we took a basically 30,000 foot view, we could actually look at people who are outside of the people we think about, who actually would have more influence and more impact with our ideal clients and our target market.
Definitely.
Yeah. Adam, you were going to say something before I interrupted you, I interrupted Billy.
That's all right. I was just thinking about when I used to have the bakery, and the head of sales of Mission Foods in Australasia is the guy I travel with when I'm doing all my shows. And he goes to me, there's a gym that's open around the corner from you. Why not put juices in there, like fresh juices, and just give them discounts and collaborate with the gym. Go, hey, we'll provide you with smoothies and protein shakes and fresh juices. And we try and get people in the door to our bakery. And then in turn, we promote their gym through us because they're just around the corner. And, the conversations happen, but in that time I sold the bakery. So, but they were very open to that. And, for a gym to be open to promoting a bakery, as Billy touched on, lawyers can go to bakeries or coffee shops, and, the scope is endless.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's all well and cool. There was a part that did you want to talk about why you might choose not to?
I think that it goes back to that trust as well. So I think that also that in the same way that we all know that whole analogy where on your when you meet someone for the first date, you don't ask them to marry you. So you have to build that trust. And I think that so often what happens is that we get people that want to collaborate with or want to work with us. And it's we don't know them very well, or we haven't built that relationship. We haven't sort of done anything together, and straight away we're like, hey, let's work together. Let's you refer me your clients, or I refer your clients, or let's see how we can do something together. And I think that we don't want to collaborate with people that we haven't built that trust, or we haven't built that sort of element of understanding that the relationship has to be mutually beneficial. And at the end of the day, that we have to provide value for the clients, value. So it's because what that'll show, so if, for you and I, if we work together, it would, your clients will be so pissed off if suddenly out of the blue, Billy Shower's selling stuff to your Lux clients, and it's suddenly I'm DMing your clients, go, hey, have you thought about Facebook marketing or that kind of stuff, because we haven't there's no trust involved. So you want to make sure that you have that trust, you have that relationship first of all.
Actually, that's a really good point you say, Billy, because I see that happen, and I'm sure every one of us have had this scenario where out of left field, someone perceives that you have influence in a particular area, and they decide that, okay, I want to collaborate. You don't know them, you've got no relationship with them, and they say, hey, let's collaborate. And you said, I don't know who you are, I don't know what's going on. I'm risking reputational damage. I'm also risking the trust of the people that trust me. Just to and it just doesn't work that way. And that's not really collaboration. That's really kind of cherry picking. That's really kind of like diving in to try to basically take as opposed to give. And if I understand correctly, in terms of collaboration, you're giving in some way, shape or form, oftentimes first.
Yes.
And establishing the relationship, establishing the trust, establishing the rules of engagement and the respect upon which you're going to work with. And you can go, great, we can do that. And we can work together, rather than hey, I had this high point. You suddenly, there are givers and takers, and that if someone's just reaching out to take, you can kind of feel that energetically.
Yeah. And that's it's a good example is what we do in BDC, in Black Diamond Club, and that is that you'll notice always that the people that we work with, we collaborate with, they always give first. So Dennis Yu, for example, that, prior to us even working with him, We had him on board to do an interview, but then from there, he just gave and gave. Obviously he's very, very generous.
Yeah.
Another one is like Sean and Lacey, coached by Jay Abraham. Obviously, Jay Abraham charges like $120,000 a day for consulting, but he gave us time through an interview and many opportunities for him to give us time in the Black Diamond Club to pass on his expertise. And that's giving as well. So, and there's been people that have worked with Jay from that as well. So the people that we collaborate with, we want to make sure that, at the beginning, and always, not even at the beginning, always at the outset, and that is to provide value and to give, first of all, prior to taking.
Yeah. And in that scenario with both Jay Abraham, as you said, and Dennis, I would imagine that they're doing it because they now trust the people that they're involved with, rather than being hit up for favors when they don't have a relationship. So I guess that was probably going to lead to the next question that I really wanted to ask you was, and we kind of have part answered that, I think, but some of the best ways that individuals and businesses could start collaborating, how would they start the process of doing that from step one to ultimately working successfully and collaborating with other people? How would they start?
Jump in DMs of random people as much as possible.
Well,
I think Gary V technique. Just keep DMing people as much as you want.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to, I think it starts with that fundamental sort of thing of knowing who your ideal client avatar is and your target market. So, it's, if you're a baker, then obviously, like most bakers start off their business and go, well, any person that wants bread, that is a client. And we all know that, yes, that's cool. That's something that'd be great if everyone that wants bread, is a client. But we quickly know that, that's not going to be the case. And you can't market to everyone that wants bread, so in the same way that just because I want to, like Apple doesn't go, any person that wants a computer is a client, they still have their ideal client and target market. So once we know who your ideal client and target market is, then we can go and search for people that are people in our community, leaders, businesses that either have direct or indirect access to your target audience, and then start to reach out. So if you don't know them, look at ways how you can connect, whether it be through, even a warm connection, like, hey, Jim, can you, maybe can we have a coffee one day, and maybe you can invite Adam and we can have a chat, because I think that I'd love to have a chat to him and see what he does. Finding out those people, even the networks that you've got, start to look at, okay, who are the people that I currently work with that I could see that we might share a very similar target audience. Because there might be a lawyer, there might be a baker, there might be a hairdresser that we all share that, and then start to look at how we can look at working together. And then the next thing is going back to that value. It's that Gary V thing, that sort of jab, right hook.
Yep.
Don't go, like, if I want to work with Adam, I'm not going to call him up and say, hey, Adam, I see that you're friends with Jim. I'd love to organize a coffee with you. Like, I just want to see how we could work together, and maybe, we can refer pet clients to your bakery and my practice. You're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it because I'm friends with Jim and you're friends with Jim. But outside of that was like, whereas if I said to you, hey, Adam, I've been listening to your podcast. Jim and I are good mates, and look, like, there's so much about what you've done, like, and really, really sort of inspires me and impresses me. I could learn a lot from you. I want to try and maybe expand my business and to do other things. Would it be okay that I buy you a coffee, spend like 15 minutes with you and just maybe ask you how you got to where you are, and then so you're like, yeah, cool. So it's asking how, that, but then also going, look, also, if there's anything I can do for you that I could help you with your business, would that be okay that I can sort of find out how I can help you? And you'll be like, absolutely. I think that people start off with the wrong foot, where it's like all about me. Like, how can Adam help me? And I want to maybe I'll buy your coffee because I want you to help me.
Yeah. It shows that you have put time in.
Yeah.
And you've researched what you want to talk about. It shows you've taken some initiative and gone, actually, I do know a little bit about your background, but I want to see the off off the social media or off the podcast, what is your background? Let's have a chat properly. But you bring up past experiences and you show respect to that person going, hey, I've seen what you do in the public eye. What do you do behind closed doors? Let's work more about that stuff. So you almost in a sense of flattery, but as you're saying, you're giving more than you're wanting to take initially. And that builds trust.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good section there. So I guess some key points from that, I guess for people listening that might want to take out is, and Billy's really talked about that, is trust, building the relationship first and foremost. And a really important part of it is if we integrate an answer you had from before is casting the net wider and going, okay, who are my ideal clients and target market, and really thinking about that, and then thinking about building relationships with people who have influence and impact with those type of people. That's the part that I've really taken out of BDC, is understanding your distribution channels and understanding that if people are going to refer to you, let's be honest, if you want to suss out what a provider does, you don't necessarily always go to the highest and best opportunity that you have available. You're going to test them, see what they like. And what you might find is, okay, I'll invest X amount of time, energy, effort, and money with you now. I want to see how that goes. And based on how well you do that, I'll build trust. And so now I have more trust in you, and the opportunities will get bigger and bigger. And it's really interesting that I've noticed too, is that any times I've started collaborations or working with people, when they've gone for the gold straight away, I know it's an energetic, it's a take scenario. But if someone's interested in building the relationship, and some of the biggest levels of support and the biggest wins that we had contract wise and stuff have been people we've known for a long time. And we've built relationships over time, and suddenly they've gone, hey man, I need, there's $1 million that I really want to allocate here. What's the best use of it that I can have? So yes, there's transactional scenarios, but we are talking about the biggest thing that I've taken out of BDC is relational capital, I should say. Yeah. And that over time starts with building the relationship face to face.
Well, to build off that, just to build off that is, like, for instance, my contract that I have with my head client, my biggest client, I was doing cooking competitions in 2009, 2010. So this is 10, 11 years ago, before I even had businesses. So I was doing cooking competitions. I was excelling in that. I was winning awards. I was getting honorary awards. I was traveling the world. I was representing Australia in a professional capacity. And then I started working at a company, because every trade show I'd go to, I'd see this one company that always come up to me at the awards ceremony to say, like, congratulations. So that felt like home. I'd go there and talk to them. But there's the two people that were there used to work at a different company. Now they've switched over to my head customers, but they brought me on board as the provider, the supplier for this, because they trusted me. This was 8 years of building a relationship before we went into business. And I didn't even think of them as, a potential customer, because they weren't even at the current company 8 years ago. So it shows you that you have to be open and you have to have trust. And again, I was using them as like my happy place when I was traveling interstate, because I knew no one else. So I'd go and talk to those guys first out of everyone. And you just build that relationship. So I totally understand, and it has benefited me professionally, definitely. It never started off as a professional thing.
Hey, just a quick question, Adam.
Yeah.
What are those supplements behind you?
I got First Form. This one is a BCAA.
Oh yeah.
And I got a creatine, and that one's Ghost. This is the best tasting vegan protein powder that I've had. This is a pancake, actually. I like the peanut butter, but this one tastes like maple syrup. So really? I'm happy with that. Yeah. And there's only 4 grams of carbs, and so it's a pretty good mix. I haven't used much lately because we're not lifting weights, so I don't actually need them, but they're in here.
They're just ornaments at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much. I dust them off before we start recording.
Because you guys can't do mat stuff with your Brazilian.
No, we cannot. No, we can't even. No, that's not even. get about. That's probably still a while to go. So there's no jiu-jitsu collaboration going on at the moment. Actually, we're not allowed to do that. So, hey, Billy, I'm mindful of time and not using taking up a lot of your time in there as well. So we talked about how things could work really, really well in a collaborative sense, and the steps that you would take to build a relationship and build on trust. And as Adam said, just develop that over a period of time. We touched on a couple of things, but what some things that you would make sure you wouldn't do if you wanted to build collaboration? Are there sort of don't do this if you want to build trust and collaboration with other people?
Well, going back to that thing, well, don't sort of like start off the relationship by just thinking about yourself. Like, always look at like, the value. Like also thinking a few steps ahead, and that is that like, so what is the end goal, or what's the purpose of the relationship that you want to have? So, is it to like, at the end of the day, increase your audience? Because obviously that can happen, like, because, but then that has to be the mutually beneficial thing between the two parties. And that is that, hey, our goal is to try and increase the audience of both of our businesses. And we can do that really, really well because, if we collaborate together. I think also that, there has to be an agreement that, so it's, like having that trust, but also knowing that you're not going to do something that, on the back end to try and obviously break that trust as well. So, that it's not like a one thing, like it's so, because it's like, we're not collaborating. So for us, we're not just collaborating just on collab event with Lux and Chicks a Click. This is something that will go beyond that because, that if we do this, that we have responsibilities to the audience. We have repercussions if we start to do something that's, not going to break the trust. So I think it's, it's always to look at what's the end goal, like, and also don't do it if you're not going to be committed. Don't do it if you're not going to be committed long term, because that's where the great strength of collaboration is. And you think about some of the great collaborations that have happened. That is that they've been long term, relationships.
Yeah, that's great wisdom there. So really, I guess the takeaway points there would be, number one, play the long game.
Yeah,
and have an awareness about where that's potentially going to go. Number two, be careful, but not be careful. Do your due diligence to find out who you're associating, getting into bed with, metaphorically speaking, because by extension, their reputation becomes your reputation. And you want to make sure that that's the case. So number three, really, as you said, is you want to make sure that you're leveraging and building the relationship. So some things you don't want to do are things that would undermine that relationship and potentially, basically put off your collaboration partner and or your target audience. So anything that they would deem as, hey, that's not cool, or that's not within the spirit of what I expected of you individually or collectively, that would actually, basically not endear you to them. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, Billy, this has been great, and it's awesome. In this very conversational based style, I think there's a lot of information that's come out of this for people to understand collaboration. I should say. I should be able to say it better after 55 times of saying it, but we should be able to understand how that works in a better format. So, I love my association with BDC, but if people would want to know a little bit more about you, connect with you specifically, find out about what this Black Diamond Club is. It's not a cult. It's not a secret society. It's a fantastic membership-based site starting point for service providers. So if people wanted to find out more about you, connect with you and the BDC, how would they do that?
They could jump on our website, which is just blackdiamondclub.com. So blackdiamondclub.com. There's information on there about all our services and the things that we do. If they want to connect with me or ask me a question, they can email me at Billy, so BILLY at blackdiamondclub.com as well. So, or if they find me on social media and that kind of stuff, they can always just DM me and message me. More than happy to answer any questions. But but thank you very much for having me. This has been you get interviewed a lot and you get sort of to have chats with people, but I've loved this format where it's just having obviously we're learning, you're asking questions and we're kind of, learning from each other and providing some great information for viewers and for listeners. Yeah. But also it's a nice and sort of comfortable, like it's almost like we're just having a chat. We're having a comfy chat on the couch, different parts of Australia. Or you guys are the same part, but you can't see each other.
Yeah, we're in lockdown, you're not, but let's not focus too much on that. Look, it's been great having you. Yeah. So Billy, as final comments, some takeaways for this podcast that you could leave our listeners with, what would they be?
Well, I think don't be scared of collaboration. Sort of remove yourself from that, like, I can do everything, I want to take control of everything. Sort of step outside of your ego a little bit, because if you really want to provide better service, better value for your clients, then collaboration is certainly a very powerful way to do that. It adds value to not just your clients, but for the people that you collaborate with, their clients. It's mutually beneficial for both of you, because you're growing your business, you're expanding. But also, I think at the end of the day, it comes back to, as we spoke about, what's the end goal? And if the end goal is better outcomes for your clients, then naturally you want to make sure that you provide the best service and the best advice and the best, aspects for them to be able to improve as well. And that could well be collaborating with others so they can help you along that journey.
Yeah, well, fantastic. Well, what a great way to cap off what's been a fun and great podcast episode. So both Adam and I want to thank you for being a guest on the podcast, on the show this week, Billy. And just want to thank everybody who's been listening for joining us once again. This is just a reminder that you can connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and the Extended Launch and Beyond community on these channels. If you've got any questions or comments you have about our podcast or anything you'd like to support with, please reach out. Quite often your thoughts and questions are the same ones other people have, but nobody comes forward to share or ask them. So do yourself and everybody a favor and just reach out and ask that question. This dialogue will have a greater impact that you may even realize. And if you are enjoying our podcast and finding value in it, we'd be grateful if you could go over to iTunes and leave us a review. This will allow us to reach a larger audience and help more people. So from me, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. Billy, once again, thank you for being in here, and bye for now.
Thank you.